here's Brody Brazil.
Okay, are you ready for Ohtani overload? As in, where will Shohei land for 2024 and beyond with his next contract? And if you think you've heard the conversation already, oh no, it's about to get amplified big time. Baseball's winter meetings start on Monday, and if any of this is not settled by then, it's only going to truly take over the entire baseball conversation, if it hasn't already. And by the way, yes, I've depicted Shohei as a San Francisco Giant. Not promising anything, I don't know anything special, but I think this is an interesting conversation to have. They're very much on the chase for Shohei. They're going to put their entire, heart and resources and finances into trying to land him. And I want to give you 10 things to think about with Shohei Ohtani potentially becoming a San Francisco Giant. Yes, that's Photoshopped, not AI. That's very much Photoshopped. Okay, a lot of people will wonder, where does he want to land? What does Shohei want in all of this? I would never speak for the man, but I think it's pretty easy to witness, especially somebody like myself, been paying attention to the AL West all of these last recent years, been watching what the Angels have done and haven't done. 2018, almost a winning record, but not 500. Same thing in 19 and 20 and 21 and 22 and 25. Shohei Ohtani has never been on a team with a winning record. Now, the Angels are their own situation. It's not like it was just Shohei. They also have Mike Trout and others and a big payroll in a huge market, and they could just never put together a complementary team around superstars, which is a whole different conversation in video, but it's very clear. What he wants is to start winning like yesterday, but like right now. And he's going to have his choice of teams, and we'll discuss that competition in a later point of this video, but he wants to start winning right now. He wants his first taste of the playoffs. Yeah, you've got one of baseball's biggest stars, nationally and globally, who's never even had a sip of the playoffs yet. So you don't have to go too far into the conversation to wonder, well, what does Shohei want? Of course, a big contract and something that is going to take care of him probably for the rest of his career. This is probably his last big league contract. I don't think we're seeing 3, 5, 7 years. I think we're seeing double-digit years. Easy, right? So he's going to get that. He's going to get the money, but what does he want? He wants to start winning now, and he wants the playoffs now. It literally is that simple. Okay, he's the unicorn. Pitching and hitting. Let's first tackle pitching. He was great on the mound in 2023, but also the injury, which we'll get to right after this. 23 starts last year, a 10-5 record, a 3.14 ERA. Phenomenal. 9 of those 23 starts happened when he was also Major League Baseball's home run leader. Just Babe Ruth, watch out. He was the home run leader while also making 9 of his 23 starts. In 6 of the 23 starts, he reached double digits in strikeouts. Yeah, he's a power pitcher. He will put you away. He doesn't even need to pitch to contact yet. He's not even at that point of his career. He can just flat out outduel you with strikeouts. He had 10 straight sub-3 hit starts, 3 hits or fewer by the opponent in 10 straight starts. He also had a stretch to close out the pitching of his season. Obviously, the injury cut him short, but he allowed no earned runs in his final 20 1/3 innings pitched this season. And I also want to point out, too, his home games are at Angel Stadium. That's a very hitter-friendly ballpark, especially for day games. And in that yard, a 2.22 ERA in home games. No question. I mean, people talk about the homers, and maybe that's what garners the most attention, but Shohei was a tremendous pitcher in 2023. Here's the problem with that. He's only going to hit in 2024. He tore his UCL again in August. He had surgery in September. Only going to hit in 2024. The aim is to get healthy enough to pitch by 2025. That's the aim. There's doctors, there's science, there's everybody on his side. I don't know that anybody can guarantee anything. And that's a hard part of this contract to figure out. Value, how much do you really want to go for this? How much can teams plan around this? He's now had 2 elbow surgeries in his last 5 years. Fortunately, right, it doesn't seem like there's any problem hitting a baseball, swinging a bat. And fortunately, like for the Giants in this situation, you've got the DH in the National League, right? So that's just another opportunity. You don't even need to force him into being a certain position player. You can just have him DH. And I think along the line, at some point, you'd like to maybe find another regular defensive spot for him on the field. But there's also the idea that does he have to be a starter his entire pitching career in Major League Baseball? Is it even a possibility? I don't think it is. You could be a relief pitcher, but also get your at-bats. How would you warm up certain timing of game situations? Like there's a reason there's a bullpen, and those guys can get up and down and get ready for any given moment of the game. It seems like that would not be strategically even a possibility. I should talk to an expert like, I don't know, Bob Melvin about that. Let's see what he would have to say about that. Anyway, it's a unique uncertainty about Shohei Ohtani. The elbow, how it's going to play, how he'll be able to play. Obviously, you'll definitely take what you can get, but the pitching part, eventually, at some point in his career, is going to be more of a question. San Francisco is actually kind of uncharted territory for Ohtani. He's only played 3 big league games. He's been in the league 6 seasons. He's only played 3 games at Oracle Park. Only had 10 plate appearances. I think there's only 2 ballparks across the country that he doesn't have hits in, and this is a tremendously small sample size. But in his mind right now, when he thinks about himself playing at Oracle Park, he doesn't have a hit there. He's 0 for 8, struck out twice, obviously walked twice as well too. He also, as far as I know, doesn't have like a bridge teammate or person, and I don't mean Golden Gate or Bay Bridge. I mean, I'm not sure there's anybody on the Giants who was a longtime Angel teammate of his that could be kind of like the landing spot, the welcome to San Francisco, let me bring you in. Now, I'm also here to tell you that the Giants hiring Bob Melvin and the ambassador he is to being a great leader of the clubhouse and leader of the team and stable force in the dugout, that is obviously going to help. What Ohtani may not have in a teammate like that, he would definitely have in a manager like Bob Melvin. And for Ohtani, I don't know if this is a big deal to him personally or not, but he seemed to be okay staying on the West Coast, and maybe that's a priority for him. And so if it's not the other team down south in Los Angeles, maybe staying on the West Coast is something that he would like to continue. But again, San Francisco itself, uncharted territory for Ohtani. There's also talk about Oracle Park and the way it plays for hitters and how Ohtani might see that. Now, we said he doesn't really have experience there, but in 2022, Oracle Park was 29th in Major League Baseball in total home runs hit by home and away teams, like both sides. Same thing in 2023, it was not much better. 27th in baseball between the Giants homers and the opposition they faced. Now, that's Ohtani's spray chart in 2023. He hits a lot of home runs straightaway center field or left center or pull side right field. I mean, look at the one that he hit over there, almost where it says single in that orange dot. How far did that one go? Oh, my goodness. It's like a 500-footer out there. But the bottom line is he's a pull hitter. Generally speaking, his home runs generally go in that direction, generally go farther in that direction. I get it. I love it. Splash hits. But does the ballpark not play into what you're going to use him most for? DHing. Power hitter. Makes loud contact. We're about to see that in just a second, how last season alone, how he upgraded and improved his contact, not just the average, hitting 300 for the first time, but how hard he actually hit the baseball last season. And so in terms of offense and what the Giants would want, like what are the San Francisco baseball needs? We'll talk about the off-field stuff and the marketability, which is important, and the believability in the franchise in just a second. But if you're San Francisco, you desperately would love to get an everyday 2 or 3 hitter in the lineup. Last year, Ohtani hit 44 dingers. But for the first time in his career, like I said before, he also hit above 300. So power, an average, and then there's this. In 2023, his exit velocity, 94.4 on average off the bat. Let me just, on average, 94.4 off the bat. This dude's hitting lasers, and what does that 1% mean? That means he's in the top 1% of average exit velocity, or was last season in terms of hitters. There's also his hard hit rate, 54.2% of the time. That puts him in the top 3% of all big league hitters. And I forget what hard hit rate, the quantification of it is, but it doesn't matter. Hard hit rate, this dude is barreling them up. San Francisco as a team last year hit 174 homers. So if I do the math, like he's a quarter to a fifth of their home run production when you add that into the lineup. San Francisco as a team also hit 235 last year. He's 70 points higher than that. No disrespect, not trying to knock the team, but obviously you can see what a difference he could make. There's also another stat which completely blows my mind. I didn't realize this. I thought this would have already happened, but the Giants have not had a hitter get 30 homers or more in a single season since Barry Bonds in 2004? They won 3 World Series in 5 years. They had good hitters. They really didn't have a 30 home run guy all those years? Panda never did it? Buster never did it? Belt or Crawford never did it? It's kind of amazing. But that's what the Giants would be getting, a bona fide home run hitter. That's all on the field stuff. It's also important to talk about the franchise needs just from the bigger picture, the fan perspective, like an instant fan favorite that Ohtani would be. Do you know what jersey sales would be like? Hypothetically, if this were all to go down like before Christmas, how fast can the Giants print up Ohtani jerseys and jerseys and all that stuff? Like, those would be selling like hotcakes. And I'm not here to say that you could pay back the $500 million+ contract in one Christmas season, but you know what I'm saying there. It's also the idea that here is an MVP caliber player who leads by example. He's got some flair and some flash to him, but he goes out there, does his job consistently and tremendously. And so there is that, a cornerstone, pillar type, foundational piece for the franchise. When was the last time the Giants had that type of foundational player? Recently, like not long ago, and I'll let you pick who it's going to be. Some would even say Crawford. Some would say it has to go back to Buster. Some would say it goes back to Barry. Whatever you really want to say about that. A foundational piece for your clubhouse, for your franchise, really a face of the franchise all of a sudden. Yeah, a marketing machine. And I'm not here to knock it. Like if you land Ohtani, after all those years where I don't know if he was buried like with the Angels, but like they have Trout and Ohtani and they're never in the playoffs and never good and not really marketable or personable. I mean, the Dodgers have run laps around the Angels in that category in recent times. And the Dodgers would probably have loved to have had Ohtani and Trout at the same time. I also think this is a message to players. We talk about the fan perspective and what, the critics are saying. How about just if you are a San Francisco Giant? Oh my goodness, they are surrounding me and this team with Shohei Ohtani and probably going to have to be some others. Let's be clear about this too. I don't think you can just sign Shohei and say, well, that's it. There's 3 more World Series, going to win them all. It's not going to work like that. This is a big part. This is a backbone part of that, but it's not the entire body of work that you need to put together with a roster and a winning team. What does a contract look like for Shohei? Who knows? There's a couple of different guesses here. MLB Trade Rumors says 12 years, $528 million. That's the leader in the dollar amount clubhouse. Fangraph says 13 years, $527 million. Is he really going to play 13 more years? ESPN is going the most conservative with 10 years, $520 million. I agree that it's going to be $500 million or over. I also agree that it's probably going to be double-digit years. Even if he doesn't finish those years, this is the type of deal it's probably going to take to see him through in the contract, to actually make it happen. Somebody is going to offer him something in this realm right here. And it also might offer a team, if you stretch him out over those years, it might also offer a team the ability to stretch out payments of his contract. And you might get into one of those Bobby Bonilla situations where you're paying Ohtani several years after he's already retired. It might have to be like that to land this, but you're a decade probably away from that. But that brings me to the next point, the actual price to pay here. There's now, there's soon, and then there's later. Now, I think we can all agree, like, he's valuable. He's a unicorn. He's special on and off the field. But the competition to land him is definitely going to overprice him. Somebody's going to overpay for Shohei Ohtani, but that's how you got to get him. It's the market, right? Supply and demand. Demand is high. There's only one of him. Soon, though, and I'm talking 3 and 5 years down the road, if you make this commitment as the Giants, you have to know that you're still financially flexible enough to go out and field a competitive team. This can't be like a boat anchor that you're just carrying along with you and trying to drag along with you and trying to attach something to. It's got to be a situation where, yeah, this is a commitment, and yeah, you're going to have to figure some things out, but you know you'll have the flexibility to still build a competitive team, reward your pipeline, or bring in more free agents that would be required. At some point, way later down the road, yeah, you don't want to be burdened. Like, will he retire this year? Will he be hanging on to the contract? Does he want to play till he's 39 years old or 40 years old and isn't producing what you signed him up for? How do you load the contract? All that stuff. You don't want to be in a burden situation, but so long as you know going into this, okay, it might look this way in years 9, 10, 11, and 12. You just have to understand it from the very beginning, but it would be optimal if you could avoid the burden scenario of payments and not much return. What if this doesn't work? What if Ohtani goes elsewhere? And let's be very clear. Like, we've spent more than 15 minutes discussing specifically Ohtani in San Francisco. If it doesn't work, like, there are other fish out there in the sea, and the Giants cannot give up instantly and collapse and go, oh man, Correa and Judge and Ohtani from 17 and now Ohtani from 23. You got to go out there and catch some other fish. This is still an important winter and an important pivotal situation for the franchise to try and add to what they're already doing. I get it. The big miss trend. You never land the big fish. I get it. I totally understand. But at the same respect, if the Giants had Carlos Correa in 2023, are they entirely different? What were Correa's stats this year that absolutely make you know that the Giants are not only a playoff team, but the competitive team, the World Series team that would have been there representing the National League and not the Diamondbacks? Do you know that for sure? One player. Just put Carlos Correa in there. Was that really the difference maker? But last year at this time, that was, of course, the difference maker. So the point is here, and Correa's not Ohtani. That's what I should say. But you can't start living off this trend of, it takes effort. It takes failures to ultimately get the success. And I don't even know if it's a failure that you can't land some of these others. It's very competitive. And yes, this would be the second try at Shohei. Giants executives back in 2017 traveled to Japan before he made the decision. They tried to lure him then. It didn't work. I wonder if there were any seeds planted that maybe he's thought about over these years. This is not the only path and way to succeed for the Giants. Honestly, you can build a team and think about what you could do with all the money if you don't spend it on Shohei. If you put it aside and you're willing to spend it in other places and willing to spend it diligently, then okay, there's more than one way to do this. Ohtani's a fun way, but it's not the only way. And then there's the other question of, well, where does he land? Because if he's playing home games at Chavez Ravine, it's a double-edged sword, right? You didn't land him. Somebody you play a lot of games against did, and I'm not even aware that that's a possibility. But I think it's also interesting to know that if this doesn't work out, where and how did it work out? Okay, that's a lot. Those are my 10 things I want you to think about with Shohei Ohtani as it relates to the Giants. And just keep staring at that Photoshop a little bit more. Soak that in. If it happens, I just want to be among the first to show you what it looked like. Hey, thumbs up since you made it here to the end of the video. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.